Hey y'all, what's happening? Welcome back to another video. So now this is one of those things that was bound to happen, but you just never really felt like it was actually gonna happen. But it did happen, and then when it happened, you was like, did that just happen? But yeah, Iron Man versus Black Panther, Megazord style, and we'll get into it right after this. Alright, so this one here starts with a conversation between one of the brass frogs of Solomon and Uatu the Watcher. And one of the brass frogs is having to strike a conversation with Uatu, asking him how does it feel to be right about something, or to be right about one of his predictions more specifically. But just to give you a better idea, these two brass frogs can access time and space. Uatu, on the other hand, he's just a watcher, so he doesn't travel through time and space like the frogs can. So when one of the brass frogs asked Uatu this question, he replied like, well, I just make educated guesses from years of experience watching things turn out a certain way time and time again. And in most cases, Uatu is right. But the specific instance that the frog was talking about this time was that Uatu had mentioned that if Storm and T'Challa were to get married, that it would be the birth of a dynasty that would take over the world. And so the brass frogs showed the watcher that fast forwarding to the year 2057 that this actually happened. And yes, the theme to this one shot is called Black to the Future. No, I did not make that up. But when they take a peek into the future, it's narrated by Storm, who's talking to her son and giving him a bit of a history lesson. And as the current queen of Wakanda, she tells him that Wakanda has usually been kept to itself and it hasn't involved itself in other affairs of other nations surrounding it. And that principle has kept Wakanda unconquered for ages, but has also allowed other nations close by to be slain. And that was with the exception of a few that had a bit more than the Europeans could deal with. And years later, that's something that Storm had witnessed firsthand. Because when she came of age to the realization of her power and started using it, they worshipped her as a god. And she protected her people like one too. But unlike previous rulers of Wakanda, she didn't just keep it to her own village, but anywhere that she seen her people being treated unjust, she seen it and she acted upon it. Now as for the kings in other countries like Wakanda, a few of them ignored it for hundreds of years up until like the early 1900s. And it was King Azzari or Azzari who was the first one to really do something about it. And I talked more about him in a previous video because he's the king that invented the Techno organic jungle. But he was faced with a very tough decision. It was either come up with some sort of truce or Wakanda go to war with the entire world. And so he decided to make a truce, but he promised his people that this behavior would not go unchecked. And when Storm's telling this story to her son, he's like, wait, so my great-great-great-grandfather was a sellout? And she's like, first of all, watch your tone. And then she's like, second of all, I don't understand how we got the best education in the world and you so damn stupid. But she goes on to tell him that being a great king isn't just about waging war and ruling with a strong hand. Because even though Wakanda had weapons and artillery that the rest of the world hadn't even dreamed of yet, King Azzari had to make the decision of putting his people, who he loved dearly, first. And that's really Storm's main point, that love is stronger than anything else. And she gave many examples of love prevailing, whether it was interracial couples or African music and art. And she even gave examples like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Just really saying, even though sometimes war is necessary, that is not always the answer. But her son also made some good points, because in this alternate timeline, the world's heroes also took it upon themselves to take out anybody who was considered a threat, or anybody who wouldn't comply 100% their government and resources. And T'Challa, with all the accumulated memories and wisdom of all the previous Black Panthers, did not see this any different from any other invasion. And the US kept Wakanda off the target list for a while, but their problem was because Wakanda was an autonomous country with many resources and the ability to defend them, they felt threatened, and that's when they decided to strong arm Wakanda into submission, or at least try to. And so they sent Tony in because he's really the biggest gun that the world has to send out. And as he's approaching in on Wakanda, about 10 seconds out, he see these spooky eyes peeking at him. A lot like what we were talking about in the Techno jungle video, just a lot bigger. And seconds after that, he just sees this huge mouth reach through the jungle and just bite like 3 or 4 Iron Men. Hopefully those were just the suits on autopilot. But Tony was definitely not ready to face the vibranium Panther death bot. But no, really, there's not really a name for this thing, so if you guys can leave some in the comment below, let me know what you would name it. But Tony really had no clue of what he was getting into here, man. This was the last thing he expected to see jumping out of the jungle in his face. And he's shooting lasers out of his eyes, and Black Panther shooting lasers out of his eyes. Everything Tony's throwing out, Black Panther got an answer for it. Oh, you want to throw hands? That's cool, because I'm going to bite those hands. But the fight pretty much measures up to a human being being mauled by a panther. But the sad thing was that Tony was so bonded with that avatar that every damage that it took, he took personally as well too. And it was never T'Challa's intention to kill Tony, but tearing apart the giant Iron Man, it took Tony's life in the same instance. And at the death of Tony Stark, the world was shocked. After losing him, they realized that they had no real answer to the artillery that Wakanda held. T'Challa enforced a peace agreement across the world. Before he retired as Black Panther, Shuri became Black Panther shortly after, and as the first female Black Panther and world leader, she went on to be one of the greatest Black Panthers in the history of all Wakanda. But that's it for this one, guys. It doesn't say that this is actual canon or what will happen, it just states it as an alternate timeline. And I'm glad because I didn't want Iron Man to go out like that. But don't forget to smash that like button, leave your comments below, and let me know in the comments too, how likely do you think that this timeline is to come true in the main 616? I would call it like a Civil War 3, but it'd be more like a World War 3. But yeah, let me know in the comments below and we'll do it again next time. Alright, later.